Breaking news about a coaching change for a team that wears red, white, and blue. Steady. Paraguay has fired manager Daniel Garnero earlier today after a winless Copa America. They lost 2-1 against Colombia, 4-1 against Brazil, 2-1 against Costa Rica. Garnero, who is from Argentina, was not in the job very long. He took over in September for actually Ale's former teammate, Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. Ale, what does this firing say about the pressure that the South American managers are under, maybe relative to their North American counterparts, in light of what's happened in the last few days, or hasn't happened?
You know that 10-day period that you need to make the assessment?
Yes, yeah.
That doesn't quite work out that way in South America.
Is it lost in translation, or what's going on there?
That whole waiting, evaluation process. No.
Thorough evaluation?
No, the thorough evaluation. We're going to see what the team did not meet the expectations. We'll take a careful look at it. It just doesn't work out that way. And in South America, you know that very well as a manager. It's about results. And it's so difficult to be able to string results together in South America. So as Paraguay right now, they're struggling World Cup qualifiers. And so as they look into the qualifiers, they have to get somebody in place that they trust can do the job. Daniel Garnero was supposed to be that guy, but his proving ground was going to be Copa America. Obviously, that didn't work out for Paraguay. And clearly, there was no patience in terms of, this is a process. Let's think about the process. Let's respect the process. Let's honor the process. Paraguay is saying, we didn't like the process. He gone, we move on to the next one. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best way to go about it, but it just tells you that there is an urgency to get decisions right. And in the eyes of the Paraguayan Federation, obviously they didn't get this decision right. The players did not deliver in terms of results. The manager did not deliver in terms of results. And so he gone. He did not meet the expectations. He gone. Other places are different.
Speaking of the urgency that Ale is talking about, does it impact at all how you feel about what's happening here in the United States and that decision?
I think you have to look at it from, is what Ali just talked about the right way to do things, or it's just the way it's done in other places?
We've always said pressure's good, right?
Pressure has to be good. We talked about in MLS, the lack of promotion and relegation, and the pressure that you learn from that, and then how that translates to the national team. You talk about the pressure of fans, the pressure of press, and how if we want U.S. soccer to be taken seriously, there has to be a level of accountability that comes with the other sports, with the other countries, and everything that comes along with that. Now, there's also a point where you can't just say, one bad result, goodbye. So you have to find that balance. Because what have we talked about in Mexico?
Garnero got 10 games total.
Right.
10 games.
Yeah. Is that, but it's 10 games over a process of, here's some World Cup games. Have we seen an improvement? Here's a tournament. I don't think anybody thought in the Paraguayan Football Federation that they were going to win Copa America. But when then you're losing to CONCACAF teams, when you haven't then
lost to Costa Rica.
Yeah, like I said, there's games where you have to say, this is a must-win. Now, and we're all talking about matches that U.S. soccer has not been able to cross over in top 20 opponents. But then when you lose to Panama in a game that you shouldn't, granted, we've talked about it till we're blue in the face, asterisks, red cards, stuff like that. But there is then an overall picture where you say, is this the right direction?
What do you think about the pressure? Like, are we right to see it as a knee-jerk, as a negative? Because a lot of times when coaches aren't given enough time, that's the rhetoric. And yet here we're kind of looking at that pressure and saying, like, no, that's a good thing. That's what we need here. That's the standards you should be held up to, which is true.
I don't want to use Paraguay as a barometer for what you're supposed to do. Paraguay, I remember it was Juan Carlos Osorio, and then he almost went, and then that went out the window. Guillermo Barros-Schelotto comes in, and that goes out the window again. So maybe not the healthiest way of evaluating, head coaches and a future for your country there. But if you want the attention that everybody craves here in the United States, the sport to be treated seriously, in a serious manner, this comes with it. There has to be accountability, because if you look at their World Cup qualifying campaign, they're not exactly doing terrible. They can't score goals, but it's a very gritty defensive team that could grind out results, but they were embarrassed in Copa America, and that embarrassment cost the national team coach's job. There's an accountability. There are consequences for not meeting expectations. If you want to be a serious football nation anywhere on this earth, there have to be consequences for these type of embarrassments.
Is there enough urgency here, Kasey?
I would love to see a little bit more urgency, simply because what that means is there's more people watching, more people informed, and more people who have a passion. And again, when expectation isn't met, there's more urgency because of the passion. Now, I also don't want to get it to the point where it's so knee-jerk and it's just a revolving door without a realistic approach. So if you're, again, let's go back to the World Cup. Okay, you lose to the Dutch. There's no knee-jerk reaction by losing to the Dutch when you get out of the group. There shouldn't be, because we're not there yet. The knee-jerk comes when it's a series, and therefore, because it's a series, it's not actual knee-jerk. It's then an idea of, okay, either it's been good enough or it hasn't been good enough, and then decisions are made.
But they didn't. There didn't need to be a knee-jerk reaction after losing to the Dutch in the World Cup. The contract was coming to an end.
Correct. That's where the conversation has continued.
And so
yes.
that was the end, and the cycle ended. And was it a bad cycle? No. Was it a great cycle? No. It was right there. It sort of met expectations to some degree, but didn't take you to an entirely different level. And again, I'm looking at this from an outsider's perspective, because Lord knows that we have our own issues back home in Venezuela. And so, but from an outsider's perspective, the way I see it is, I would want to have the ambition from the federation and from those involved in a decision-making position to say, okay, this is where we are. This is our level. How do we get to here? And it doesn't have to be a big jump, but I want to see growth. I want to see progress. I want to see that indeed we're making the decisions that are necessary to take us from one place to the next, whatever that next place is. And once we get there, we establish that as our bottom, and then we go to the next step. And we go step by step by step, and you go climbing the ladder. Logically, you would think that that's the way things are done, but what this federation, again, looking from an outsider's perspective, what they have done is settle in a comfort level of, yeah, we're meeting expectations, we make it to the World Cup, we get out of the group, and then that's it. We'll take that as job done. I think, to the point that the guys are making, if you are to be taken seriously at a different level entirely, then your expectations have to be much higher than that. And the decisions that you make to meet that expectations have to reflect that.
I think we're only hours away from finding out if that pressure really reaches the people in power. It sounds like there will be a decision announced sometime in the next couple days when it comes to Gregg Berhalter's future.
Well, they made a decision.
If that decision is to move on, I'll tell you who's ready. The editors over at ESPN.com, because they've already got an article up right now.
Only
Who should replace USMNT? The title of the article should be, who's going to replace Berhalter as the men's national team manager? They got 16 replacements.
Tell him, Seb. Tell him what
lined up. 16. Very, very exciting.
Editorial job by Seb there.
Well, who can read that? Who should be?
Well, you should be able to read it.
Coach USMNT next? 16 replacements for Berhalter.